So the way we see it is this, and not everybody agrees with this, but this is how I see it. We owe the country a very clear choice. The gridlock is as bad as it's ever been. We need the American people to break it. And what we owe them is, if we don't like the direction the president has gone, which we don't, we owe them an alternative. We owe them an articulate vision and plan, taking our principles, which are the founding principles, reapplying them to the problems of the day, showing how these solutions solve problems, articulating them as best we can to the country, and then let the country pick in November. And if we have that kind of an election, an affirming election, I feel that that's the best chance to break this logjam and get things done. We simply can't try and win this thing by default by running against all the bad news or the things that have contributed to the president's unpopularity. We owe the country more than that. We owe them an alternative. And if we win an affirming election like that, then I believe we have the moral authority and obligation to act on it. Now, I'm not saying it's all about conquering the other party. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. It's about having an affirmation of a positive agenda for how to fix this country's problems, and then working on what I think is an emerging bipartisan coalition of problem solvers, of solutions to get this thing done. I think there's a bipartisan consensus on tax reform. We're getting one on Medicare. They're out there. And there are those kinds of Democrats that are out there that are policy problem-solving people who ought to be part of this coalition. I would simply say that the president and his party leaders in the Senate are on the outside of this coalition looking in. They're doing everything they can to undermine this coalition on these various issues. His CPAC speech was very, very good on just what I said. There's always the temptation, it's usually from the political consultant types, to don't take risks, don't be bold, because they can use it against you. Medicare's a perfect example of this exercise. I think people are sick of that. It's cynical. But more importantly, you win the wrong kind of victory. And look, Bush ran in 2004, I would argue, as sort of a national security message. And then over in the Reagan building, after John Kerry conceded, he said, "I'm doing Social Security and tax reform." That was the first time I heard of that. And I was, but went nowhere. The president, this current president, ran on, I would say, more of a vague platitude campaign, hope and change. And then he gave us all the stuff he did with the Pelosi Congress. You got to prepare the country. You got to.
I think he is doing that.
Yeah, I think he is. I think his CPAC speech was he gave I can't remember where, he gave a good entitlement speech, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I thought that was very good. I think his CPAC speech was very good. So I think he's stepping into that groove, and I think he's getting into that mode of doing that, because the reason I make this emphasis so much, Mara, is this time is different because of the country. And we just can't have an ordinary election where it's a personality contest, and then you win by default, and then you don't have a mandate. We need to have an election with a mandate so we can actually fix these problems.